How's it going, guys? This is Chris again for part 3 of our series. That beforehand was a reward I got for actually getting a non-game with a little bit of roping, but it was fine. This is actually the first game in our third episode, which we will be playing. We will be playing a version of Esper in Historic. Esper Exile. About to say. Kaya is our main win condition. We have Ashiok, we have Teferi, and then we have Elderspell to get them up to ultimate range when the time comes. Now with our opening hand, we did pretty good. We have 2 tap lands, and we did mulligan to 6, but it'll be fine, I think, for the rest of the game because we want to be a little slower anyways. Our opponent's first turn, they play a Fabled Passage, and pass. We draw our Ashiok, get down a second tap land. I hope we draw a little bit more land. We use Thoughtseize. Hopefully that'll let us see what they're up to at least, so we can plan how we're going to use these counterspells. It may not be obvious from like the first 2 green decks that I played, but I'm actually a pretty big fan of control style archetypes, and counterspells are not the funnest to play against, but they're fun to play. During that just now we took the Ramanov Excavator. Them having multiple ways to recur lands doesn't seem like it'd be good for us, especially if they have a Get Rog monster in hand. We want that to be a little bit more punishing. We want it to be as punishing as the card says, as opposed to them having access to lands from their bin and extra land drops. Our third turn, we get a 3rd land. During their turn, they dropped a Ghost Quarter, which is a bad sign. We decided to opt for Ashiok. Ashiok just gives us a little bit of double protection. It will mill 4 of their cards, and it will exile their yard. So, a little bit of safety. We didn't have the double blue, double white to hold up a counterspell. So we couldn't have used Absorb during their turn. I guess there's an argument for holding up Dovin's Veto, although we're not sure the composition of their build. They might be playing a deck that relies on non-creature spells, but land drop, that's really good. We're going to shock it in so that we can have Absorb and Dovin's Veto. Well, we won't have them both, but we'll have the option to use either one. We mill again. Exile the yard. We're passing, but our opponent had a moment to think there. I guess they were considering Fatal Push, but I don't know what they would do. They didn't see much else for their mana. Well, they don't even have a black source, do they? So I guess the initial worry about the Get Rog monster was unfounded. They're going to swing in at Ashiok, hit him down for 2. He's down to 1. Lotus Cobra. We don't want that. That is a black source. That is a painless black source. So we go for the Absorb. 3 extra life against a creature combo deck's pretty good. We do Wrath of God. We don't have the mana to play Wrath of God. We're going to cash in our Ashiok. May not be the right play, because it may have distracted the Dryad for another turn. But that's a little doubtful. Yard gets exiled once again. Our opponent's turn. 4 cards in hand, 1 more card than us. They attack us, bring us down to 17. Let's see what they decide to go for. Fabled Passage. Crack the Fabled Passage. Get themselves their black source. And they go for an Ancient Green Warden, which at this point in the game, I probably should have countered. This is probably another punt. But I had the Wrath of God in hand, and at the time I thought, you know what, we can Wrath. We'll be fine. Didn't realize at the time we only had 1 white source, so there would be no Wrath. We get to take 7 next turn, which will bring us down to 10, which is not great, but that is what happened from the looks of things. Now our opponent's thinking about what they want to do here. They have the Green Warden, so they can play lands from the graveyard. And the Dryad gives them extra land drops. We need the white, so we're gonna tap that. Ghost Quarter in our lands. That's not great for us. We're not the greediest of mana bases, but we're pretty greedy. 5 basics in total. We get a white source because we need that to actually reach our wrath. They Ghost Quarter us again, which is bad. Now at this point, I think I end up making another punt in that I could have grabbed the other white source here. And by grabbing the other white source, I would have had my wrath available for next turn, so that we could avoid further recurring Ghost Quarter shenanigans. But I didn't do that, and this pause here is me realizing I didn't do that. The game is shaping up to be pretty bad for us. Just holding up my absorb there, hoping that they want to play something. Turns out they want to Ghost Quarter us, which, to be fair, if I with them, I would want to Ghost Quarter me too. 3-quarter decks in Historic have a track record of being very greedy. And I know I've played decks in Historic where the basic land count has been close to non-existent. And then our opponent Ghost Quarters our blue source, which means Veto and Absorb are now off the table. We get another turn. We draw Kaya, who is our win condition. We have enough for our wrath this turn. So we fire that off. Hopefully we won't get Ghost Quartered anymore, because as you guys saw from the deck list, the next Ghost Quarter is going to be the one that's going to take away our final land, which means it's basically a strip mine, and that's not good for us. Wrathing away the Gitrog monster. Gitrog monster is a card that will draw a lot of cards if it's allowed to stick around. Luckily for us, it won't stick around, but unluckily for us, the 2 Fabled Passages mean they still drew cards. And now, with 1 card more than us, it's seeming unlikely that we're going to be able to get out of this. And there's a Dread Presence. There's a land, down to 1. And our opponent does know how to play Magic. Pretty well, I guess. And that's our life. That was game 1. At a loss, let's see if Esper can hold out. On to game 2, and we are up against the Kami Horde. Always fun to look at the usernames. We decided to keep our opening hand. We have mana, we have counterspells. We have a counterspell, but, they don't know we only have 1. It's looking good for us. Get down a tap land, we don't have to hurt ourselves as much. Draw into the Thoughtseize. That's pretty good. And with the Drown Yard, we can actually cast it this turn. Turn 2 Thoughtseize isn't as impressive as the turn 1 Thoughtseize, but it's still pretty nice. We get rid of the Vraska's Contempt. That does seem like one of the only bad things in their hand against our all planeswalker deck. Get down our 3rd land. Instead of holding up the Absorb, we go for Kaya. They don't have a 1 or a 2 drop, and we can start working towards our win condition. Kaya is actually a pretty good win condition for this type of deck, if you want to go all in on the Exile strategy. because that her -5 that deals damage equal to the number of cards in exile with like an Ashiok or other exile-based effects can get to 20 pretty quickly. Our opponent conceded. Guess that's a win for the deck. A little fast for a control deck, but what can you do? Okay then, we are on to game 3. In game 3, our hand looks pretty good. Don't have a black source, but can't always have everything you want, especially in these 3-colored decks. Our opponent's mulliganing. Hope they're not on something like Tybalt's Trickery. This down to 5, so I see. I don't think they're on Tybalt's Trickery. Siren Stormcaller pretty much means that they're on mono blue tempo, which might just be a better counter deck than us. I mean, in theory, our counters are harder than theirs, I guess. As stupid as that sounds. You have things like Spell Pierce and Mystic Dispute, and we decided to pass through here, hoping to get some absorb value. In order for their deck to work properly, they have to get down a Curiosity effect on one of their creatures. I think at this point I just got a little impatient. Because there it is, Lofty Denial. That's what it was called. Yeah. Got a little impatient because I wanted to get rid of those creatures before something came down on them. Luckily, I wasn't punished that turn. We decided to go greedy again. Kaya. They're down to 2 cards, so the chances of them having a counterspell aren't the best. But I mean, I really should have realized that this is mono blue tempo. Of course they have a counterspell. Of course they have a counterspell. There's a Curiosity. They are online. This turn right here is pretty pivotal for the match, because if we could have stopped that, we might have been in a little bit of better place, but now they're drawing at least 2 cards per turn. We're going to try to stop that with Narset. Let's hope they don't have the counterspell, because so far in this match that has worked out for us. And they never didn't have it. Oh god. But against these counter control style decks, you got to make them use their resources, because in theory they'll run out of resources. But as that enchantment coming down tells us, the resources are never going to go away. Narset 2 is one of those last 2 cards, the counterspell. Gamble of the week. Let's see it. They're thinking maybe they don't have a counterspell. Technically, it's not a counterspell. But, pretty bad all the same. Three cards in hand. One more than last time. Let's see if they have a counterspell. Go Narset. They had the counterspell, but luckily for us, this time around, we also have a counterspell. Do they have a second counterspell? Guess not. We have forced our way through the mono blue defenses. We decide to search here. We're looking for a Wrath. We find a Wrath. Now, Narset means they won't be drawing any more resources unless they decide to go in and kill the Narset. They have enough power to do that this turn, but that also means that they're going to miss out on 2 card draw. Are they going to take the risk? They are thinking about it. I guess they gotta have to kill the Narset, huh? Because if they don't kill the Narset, they're eventually gonna run out of resources. Okay, we go for the Wrath of God. We have counter backup, but apparently we don't need it. Everything goes to yard, and this is where you want to be against mono blue tempo. They have only 2 cards in hand, and we're about to exile their yard. Things are starting to look up. We had a rough go with all those counterspells, but now we are the counterspell deck. They get a Siren Storm Tamer. Probably one of the best creatures in that deck, because not only can it wear a Curiosity pretty well, it can also counter something that targets them or a creature they control. It's a little bad. God, 2 counterspells and an Elder Spell in hand. Despite being probably... there is a Spectral Pirate, I think. 1/1 flyer, draw the card for 4. Pretty good in these type of low to the ground decks where you're just trying to counter everything and you are keeping your mana up. So at the end of your opponent's turn, you can basically draw a card or draw 2 cards depending on how long the game's been going. They're thinking about things. I guess they were thinking about Ashiok and whether or not he's actually a problem. And I guess he wasn't. We are going to mill him for 4 again. Our deck is not a mill deck, okay? I know it may look like we're trying to mill them out. We're not. We really just want all those cards in exile. But it doesn't look like we have much of a choice at this point because we just draw Ashioks. That's all we have. And we have to counter the other creature because that makes their clock a 3-turn clock as opposed to a 9-turn clock. And wouldn't you know it, after all that countering, there's a Curiosity again. Our opponent is a skilled Magic player. And a Siren Storm Tamer to protect it. That's no fun. We drew Teferi. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, is a good card. Is he good enough to help us? Maybe. We'll see. I get the feeling his ability is going to get countered. If he doesn't get countered himself. He went down. Let's see where it goes. Right. I decided to go for the draw here. The draw was good to us, but it probably wasn't the right choice. I mean, with them having the Siren Storm Tamer and the Siren Storm Tamer with the Curiosity, we just kind of need to get one of them off the board. But apparently that's not going to happen either. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking at this point. I was probably thinking I can win this game by combo. By just ticking up Kaya. Which might be the best line of action. You can see the argument for it. Teferi's going to untap some lands for us. They're going to add in another creature to the mix. We're going to untap 2 Hallowed Fountains. That way we can pretend that we have our Dobin's Veto.
They don't know that we have a Dovin's Veto, but let's just pretend that they do. They are thinking over their options. They have a pretty fast clock, so it's not like they need to do much to stop us. But we do have a lot of planeswalkers. And the good thing about using Kaya as our Elder Spell combo is she does not need much loyalty to actually ultimate. She needs 5 loyalty, which with 2 planeswalkers on board means it's pretty likely she can. And I could have done that this turn. I definitely could have. But I thought seized instead. And if you will take a look down there at my lands, you will be able to see that there are only 2 sources among them that can produce black mana. And in order to Thoughtseize and Elder Spell this turn, 3 sources would be needed. There goes the Spell Pierce. Get out of here, you dreaded Counterspell. Now we just kind of go into desperation mode a bit, because 1, 2, 3, 6 damage on board? We're dead if they get an attack. So we try to exile the one with Curiosity. Doesn't work, of course. We play our Hero of Dominaria. This means we have to sack our old Hero of Dominaria, which is not good, but we need his Tuck ability. His Tuck ability will allow us to get rid of the Brazen Borrower. And getting rid of that will save us 3 life. 3 life means the difference between a 2-turn clock and a 3-turn clock, so pretty happy with that. Old Ashiok gives his life so that that Brazen Borrower may never bother us again. God bless your service, Ashiok. And then we'll just pass it to the opponent. We get to untap some lands. Get to pretend we have more counterspells. We are a counterspell deck opponent. Scary things could happen during your turn. They draw a card. They draw a card. Guess what they're going to do during their attack step? That's right, they're going to draw a card. They're going to draw a card off my face here in a second, which is probably why it sucks a little bit more, but every little card draw definitely does hurt a little bit. Three cards in hand. They are thinking things over. Another Siren Storm color. During this turn, we realized our mana base is a little disconcerting at the moment, so we decide to go for the Ashiok first. That right there is a red sign. When your opponent's profile highlights and there's a little pause, that means they can do something. Now we're hoping here that what they can do is just activate their Spectral Sailor a couple times and draw a card or two. But we have to go for the Elder Spell this turn. We have no choice. We'll lose if we don't. So we target our Ashiok and our Teferi. We want to destroy them, opponent. Will you let us do that? Let's see if they'll do that. They might. They might not have noticed that they have over 20 cards in exile. 1 mana off Lofty Denial. That sucks. And our Kai was at 3. What that tells us is that if we had not played our Ashiok, we would have won. That's no fun. Kaya goes in for another exile. Siren Storm Tamer does what he does best and prevents us from having our way. We mill. They have 9 cards left in their library. We're not a mill deck, remember that. And that's all we got for the turn. We draw our card, we untap. Wonder what we draw. Hopefully it's not anything relevant. Because that would make us look silly. How the Fountain actually isn't relevant. It is relevant, isn't it? Because if we had played that and shocked it in, we would have been able to pay for a Lofty Denial. Ooh, this game. This game. Yes, opponent, draw your card. Then draw your card. Then I wager you're probably going to draw some more cards. Hey, look, we're getting attacked for 3. And they're drawing 2 cards instead of 1. That's gotta feel nice. Watery Grave. Not what we were looking for. Learned our Teferi lesson from last time, though. Let's see what card we have before we decide on any risky plays. And it's a 3rd land. What's the chances that there were 3 of those on top of our deck? We go for the mill. They have 5 cards left in the library, which is just 1 less of where they actually need to be for us to win the game. But, 1 more.
Our opponent is thinking over this mill a little too hard, don't you think? Because I guess they're thinking that when they attack us, they'll deal damage and have to draw cards, and they might lose from that. But the reality of the situation is the damage will go on the stack first, which means we'll die before they actually draw those cards, so they won't lose, even if they don't counter this. But they decide to counter it. That gives a little window of hope. We go to exile the little Spectral Sailor. Surprised they didn't draw a card there. That's probably a bad sign. We play our land, one of many in our hand, and pass the turn. We can untap things. We can untap their 2 lands. Nah, I don't think I want to do that. Let's see what's hidden in those last 3 cards. And it's a Spectral Sailor. We lose. And it's a Brazen Borrower. We lose even harder. And here it comes. The inevitable Uncroach of Death. But, before we die, our opponent has to get in their Curious Obsession. It's kind of what their deck is made for. Oh, look, and a Curiosity. Ooh, they just really love drawing cards. And that's game 3. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This has been part 3 of the series. Got a 1-2, not too bad. Anyways, thanks. Remember to subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you later. Bye.